Hello, welcome back. My name is Dr. George Mochocki. This is Management 218, Corporate Finance at a community college, a basic introduction into systematic and unsystematic risks and equity risk premium. Whether you're taking me online or face-to-face class or a fully or a blended class. So we already discussed this in our lectures within the classroom. We also discussed this either on a discussion board, and also the author has good reading. Gets a little bit more harder now. If I look into reading, a lot of people are going, "Man, this is really hard information." Don't worry, I'll try to summarize it as I did in the lectures into a very simplified understanding of the concepts. Now, one thing you have to understand. Oops, let me see. Sorry, I got some background music. Okay, yeah. One thing you have to understand is that when you do the article reviews within the classroom, you're selecting articles that are current and utilizing the chapter's reading. This way, you could say, okay, I understand, I can see what's going on. Just understand the definitions and not able to tie it to the application is an effective way of learning. I want you to understand here's what's going on. I could see what this company or this organization is doing. Could I, as a department head or chief financial officer or someone making recommendations for the company, utilize a similar strategy or seeing that is my strategy working properly? So again, you're going to be diversifying. You're going to buy stocks and everything else. So here we're going to see how vital the market is. Is it the bull market? Is it the bear market? What we talked about other chapters. So I'm just going to go a quick overview, which areas you should look reinforce. We discussed this, so you kind of really understand the concept. Now you're just trying to get the definitions from the book, the YouTubes, I mean the videos the author provides you, and the homework assignments you've been doing in my finance lab offered by Pearson Lab. Okay, so if you just looking at this, you can say, man, it doesn't tell me much because you have to take the class or buy the book or read it, and now it'll make sense. This is like a summarization of what we discussed in the chapters. I'm going to try to keep this under 20 minutes. Usually I'm running about 25. I don't want to go further than that. Okay, so expected return of a portfolio. If I look at my portfolio, and that's basically a lot of companies have different investments or different streams of income. Sometimes internal, sometimes external, sometimes they buy other companies. They don't do anything else. They're just using it as a stream of income. So you're going to look at portfolio rates, the return. Remember, we always talk about the yield return. After I paid everybody else, what is my return on investment? Do I keep this in the stock? Do I keep this in this bond? How much money do I get after I pay all my everything else off, all the handling or handlers, for lack of better words, tax and everything else? This is what my return on my investment. And does it exceed my portfolio return? I have a general idea. Remember, in finance, I'm looking in the future, always in the future, and I'm making an assumption what's going to happen in the future. Right now, there's a lot of things going on. You know what I mean? You got things going on in the Middle East. You got things with oil. You got things with Iran. You got things with China. North Korea is kind of stable. But all those things will affect certain prices, certain companies, depending where they get their supplies or depending what's going on in the global economy. I'm not trying to be a globalist, but I'm working in an international environment, and I have to understand these have effects going back to me. If you read the book by Friedman, The Flat Economy, all of different economies affect each other indirectly. External forces and plus internal forces within the organization and external forces within my own market, for lack of a better word, and within my own country. Okay, so portfolio weight. If I look at weight fraction here, let me just move this over a little, and I'm just going over this. Remember, I'm just giving you so you could have the formal definitions, the book, and everything else. Just like, oh, now I get it. It finally clicks on. Okay, so let me make this just a touch larger, and I'll try to go in here a little quicker. I think I was using like 200 works out. Wow. Okay, portfolio weight. Fraction of the total investments in portfolio held in an individual investment portfolio. Apple shares $200 per share at 200. So you got 40,000. That's how much money I got in there. Remember, when you look at money, it's money I can't touch or money that's growing. Hopefully, that's what I have. Coca-Cola shares, 60 per share is 60,000. If one portfolio cola 60% and the other portfolio is 40%. So if I'm looking at this, which portfolio should I maintain and which one should I get out of? You always have to check it. Remember, you don't wait till the year end. In finance, I'm always looking at these numbers because the market could turn on a dime for me, in lack of a better word. But so I have to be prepared, and I'm always evaluating. I got software, I got the people watching certain portfolio, and I got to make a decision. Just like if you had your individual stocks, do I sell now or buy? Or if you got a house, something's going on, you got a highway going on, or whatever. You know what I mean? How do I make that decision? So you have to be current with that. Okay, now your portfolio returns, weighted average returns on investment portfolio. Here, weights correspond to certain portfolio weights. And then they had the example in the book on page 364. If you got early editions, it's in chapter 12. It could be off about like 5, 10 pages because they added some more information. Okay. Now, so I weighted. So this one's weight. This is more of when I'm weighting, I'm looking at the risk factor, and we discussed that in the classroom. Okay. Expected return portfolio weights correspond to portfolio weights. How much is more the risk? Which one's more stable? And sometimes the risk may be higher, get a higher return, but if it goes bad, I lose it all. Or I may want a lower return with a lower risk, but it's more stable. Depends on the company. Depends on how much money they have available. Sometimes if I have more money, I'll take a higher risk. If I'm just basically surviving or plateau, I don't want to take those risks. I want stable. And remember, every company, organization, chief financial officer, or even yourself, you have a different tolerance or ability for taking risks. Some are more risk takers, some are more conservative, for lack of better words. Okay. Now, how when I look at a bear or bull market, the total risk measured as a standard deviation of portfolio. How do I diversify? How some are very unstable situation. Oil right now in the U.S. is very stable. It doesn't affect us because we're energy self-efficient. Would you like the Trump administration or not? Because of some of the regulations and rules, and environmental things. Remember, I'm a business person. I'm just looking at the bottom line to satisfy my investment, just like you are an individual. I am concerned about the environment, but to what extent? Could I, as a U.S., change all the environment? If you look at some of the data, the U.S. Has the cleanest air anywhere in the world. China, and the other thing, look at they all got masks and everything else, and they got the masks because there's so much pollution in there, and they're not containing it. Remember, that pollution flows over to us, but we're doing pretty good. All right, overall. All right, so but now I'm looking at the oil. So we're very stable. We don't need to have foreign oil. We could maintain our oil prices. But what happens is that there's instability in the Middle East, or something else is Iran. With some of the oil going, some issues there, and now all of a sudden the oil prices go on. They had a fire in one of our refineries. The oil prices go up because now there's going to be more. Because remember, we only have so many refineries. You can have the oil, but if you can't convert them to gasoline, it's useless. You know what I mean? So you have to have that the process, part of the logistics thing. So if that is down for whatever reason, it's not brought up real quickly, the prices go up. Something happens in the Middle East, even though it doesn't affect us, the prices go up. I'm a business person. I'm an oil company, and I go, hey, look, the price is going up. Why should I keep my prices lower? I'll also go up because the demand is there. Whether I sell in the U.S. or I sell outside, so now the prices of oil go up. That's when we talked a little bit about commodities. Some companies buy oil at a fixed price at the beginning of the year. Hopefully, they're assuming that the oil price is going to go up, but others, so I'm locked in. No matter what, here's my prices. Just like you do if you buy your gas at home, your natural gas or your electricity, you can lock in the prices. You're anticipating that they're going to go up in the summer and not down, but they go down, so you lose money. But that's the gamble you're really taking. But from a business perspective, I have my expenses are level. I know exactly how much it's going to cost me for every unit. I don't have to have these fluctuations saying, oh, geez, all of a sudden it went up double or triple the amount that I was anticipating for it, and now I have to do my marketing, change my pricing, and all that. Remember, I'm trying to give you the whole picture. We're taking little aspects of finance and we're bringing it all together. And you go, my head's spinning. Don't worry. After a while, you'll be able to pick up certain areas. Look, if I get up in the morning and my arm hurts, what did I do last night? What's happening? I take care of the arm, but the rest of the body is good. If my whole body hurts, then I have to take care of the internal. So when I'm looking at finance, you have to look at all these different signals, these different measurements that you're looking at, and how do I minimize the effect on me or my corporation or my stockholders, and so at least break even or make money on my investment. Okay, so measuring correlation, again, I measure the degree returns to share common risk, calculate as covariance of returns divided by the product of standard deviation. Page 369, we did that, the homework, and we used an Excel spreadsheet. So, and now you understand what those numbers mean that you actually calculate it. But you have to conceptually understand what's going on. Excel various computing variances and standard deviation. The author does a real good job in Excel. It's a little problem with the Excel program through Pearson's. It's just the way that you have to look. Those of you who are taking my class and you're looking at that, when you're doing the Excel, you have to do it exactly how the author does it when you upload that Excel. The formula, if you turn something around the computer, it's a computer. It's checking it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I mean, it's still got the right answer. That's when I give you, I modify your grade. I go in and say you got the right answer, but you put the plus on this side, or you did some kind of a calculation, or you did it a little bit different than the book does. It doesn't know. It just said, oop, wrong. Okay? Put it up there, still give you some point. Okay, measuring systematic risk. Now, here's the thing that I want you to focus on this whole chapter, systematic and systematic risk. So let's go in here. The amount of stock that is removed by a diversification depends on its correlations with other stocks in the portfolio. Like we talked before, which stock do I keep? Which stock do I take? Sometimes the high risk stock, if I have money, everything's going well, I'll keep those and get rid of the low performing ones. But if the economy is kind of going down to a slowing economy, I may just keep the more of the conservative stock. Now, if you build a large enough portfolio, that's why they tell you to diversify. You remove all unsystematic risk by diversification, but you're still left with systematic risk. Now, unsystematic risk, it affects everybody. Systematic risk, let me go there. I'll do the explanation. Otherwise, I'll just jump ahead of myself. Okay, the role is just the way I set this up. Remember, I was following this concept maps, following along with the way the publisher's doing. I may not agree with it, but this is what you're doing. I don't want to throw you off. Okay, role of the market portfolio. Aggregate all investment portfolio of all risk investments held in proportion to their value. Okay, again, you're taking a probability. You're making an assumption. And some risks may be higher than others. If I looked at the before, I'm not trying to sell marijuana, but if you look at marijuana, about 3-4 years ago, people go, oh, it's a risky stock. The federal government, when you had Sessions, he was against the drug and all that, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So you're taking a big risk. Now marijuana stocks, they're not that risky because a lot of states are using it for money. State of Illinois that we're in now, that's going to pay for higher education. They're going to tax the heck out of it. But you see me, so the risk is going down. So what used to be a high risk investment now becomes it's still risky because you don't know what's going to happen with the government. It's still Schedule A or whatever, but it could be a lower risk. I mean, the risk factor is less because there's more states saying, "Hey, we're utilizing this. It's not that harmful." And so now you see more people trying to sell the stocks and try to get more investment into that. After a while, once it gets legalized and everything else, what you see down the road, the federal government will follow suit because all the states got it. They want to fight it. They got other issues. And then all of a sudden the stocks will be a common stock and may not be a high value. It'll be all right for a few years until they find, this is harmful or whatever. Remember? But I'm looking at that time period I'm in now. Can I make some money on this investment? How risky it is, and or what do I do? Okay? Now, market capitalization is total market of firm's equity. And again, equals the market's share, market price per share times the number of shares. Very simple. We did that when we looked at the Coca-Cola And who else the other one I was looking at? And oh, Apple. All right. Now let's look at systematic risk. Now, systematic risk again is market wide. Everyone gets affected by that. Unsystematic risk is basically just by the company. Like I said, if the economy goes down, that's a risk for everyone. If there's inflation or something happen, a recession, world global recession, it affects everyone, no matter what industry I am. Oil, Coke, Coca-Cola, soft drink, everything is affected. Systematic, that's systematic. Unsystematic risk is basically my industry. My oil industry may be affected. The marijuana or the pharmaceutical may only be affected because of some litigation against them. Right now, if I'm looking at some like Google's going to be broken down. So it affects everyone? No, it affects just Google or the internet or the commerce organization. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So when I'm looking at systematic, it's everyone. I don't care how you can't really protect that. You could protect it. You get rid of it, or you have some kind of insurance on that. But unsystematic risk will just affect that industry. So if I have certain stocks and I think that industry or that company is being affected, I could probably get rid of it if I could foresee it in the future or see the trend is going down there. That's why Apple stock was way up here, and I mean Google way up here and dropped down because are they going to break it up? Are they going to make something up with it? Is the value of the stock going to happen? What's going on? There's something out, and investors get worried. Get rid of it. I want to get rid of it while I'm still making money. I could still, it could drop down and come back up, but some investors aren't the risk takers. During pension plans, they want to say, hey, we got to keep our pension, or otherwise the pensioners are going to be upset because the value of their pension plan, for lack of a better word, that's where they get the money. Remember, the streams of income to pay for their retirement. That's going to be affected. They don't want to take the risk. So you have to look at it and you start changing, getting rid of some portfolios and taking other. But by diversification, I got the high risk, the low risk, the medium risk, and overall I'll have a general. That's what the mutual fund basically does. All right, so we have that real quickly. I've got a few more minutes. Okay, market indices and market portfolios. Market proxy, basically portfolio return closely tracked. The true market portfolio, this is the true cost as true as you're going to get it. And remember, a lot of companies, just like when we do on our, not me or you, but a lot of companies kind of, do I put it on the books now? Do I put it next year to make my numbers look good? Or do I postpone it? Or do I ship it when you go international down a few chapters down? Or do I put that to my subsidiary? Do I put money here? Do I move things around so I have a good value? I don't look as a risky if I have the ability to do that. It's not illegal. May not be ethical. I'm not trying to push that. Let's say it's basically the part of financial officers. How do I minimize my risk? If I know a tornado's coming into my area, what do? I don't leave it there. I figure, hey, it may hit me, it may not, it may go over. I move my merchandise to another facility. If I think strike's going to come into this area where I'm making a production, I got several production plants, I slow down this one, or I stockpile and I move my production or increase my production in other plants that aren't going to be struck. So this one doesn't have as much an effect. I'm not trying to, and there's nothing illegal or unethical. I'm a business person. I'm trying to move my stuff. If I know my basement floods, I move my TV up to the upper level after the storm goes down, and then I bring it back down. It may never flood, but I have to make those. I see that. I see the prediction. There is a higher probability. It always flooded. There's certain things. It may not. But I don't want to take that risk. I minimize that. Okay, now when I look at market indices, there's a value of broad-based portfolio security. You have different index, and here's index funds. Invest stocks and securities. Goal of matching performance of a particular market index. Vanguard largest in 2013. I think the author is now 2015. Here's the site, click on there, Standards and Poor's, another index. It just gives you an overall for the market in certain industries, what's going on. What's the risk, and how do I adjust my algorithm? How do I adjust my software? How do I adjust my planning going forward? You can't wait to the year end. Remember, financial officers, or those with dealing with money, just like with your money, you're dealing. The company says we're going to be closed down for the next 2 weeks because of blah blah blah. You say, okay, okay, so I'm taking care of that. If something happens in the region because it gets flooded, or so that could affect all the businesses in that. So then that's systematic. They couldn't plan for it, but they may have some kind of contingency if it's always happening in that area. Okay. And then the last one is capital asset pricing. And here's the model: is equilibrium model of a relationship between risk and return that characterizes security expected return on beta with the market portfolio. All right, real simple. So understand the whole thing is that what you have to look at. You're looking at systematic risk and unsystematic. Systematic risk, for lack of thing, this whole thing is the risk that affects everybody. I don't care what industry, what the market, whatever. It affects the whole country, the whole world, or whatever, or a certain area. Unsystematic risk just affects that one product, that one industry. Like if we're looking at Google, you know what I'm talking about? So Google is basically affected, but other e-commerces don't have that effect. It's not affecting them. Does that kind of make sense? I hope it does. I don't want to say more and confuse you, but now you have a general idea what we're talking about, and then you did the math and everything else in the video. And look at the Blackboard course management systems that I utilize in both community colleges. I have short YouTube videos that bring each area systematic in a simplistic form and unsystematic something for you could look at and understand in a basic. Right now this is a community college, so what I'm trying to do, nothing wrong. I mean, a lot of you, you have to know this stuff. You pay a lot less to learn this stuff, but right, but it gives you your foundation. I understand. Look, when I go working on a car, I understand the different components how it work. I may not know them all, but I understand a basic. And then if there's an issue, I could focus in on that and focus on that issue and learn more and adjust to that thing instead of so I know which area I got to go to. So is my portfolio with a chief financial officer or your own stock. You're looking at how you're going to minimize the risk, or do I sell, or do I buy, or do I buy it now because people are getting rid of it because they're afraid. Remember, I was only talking to some people are looking what's going down, 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 and they go, hey, this is only a temporary. I think it's only going to last maybe 6 months or 2 months or something else. I'm going to buy at this low price, and when it goes up, then I'm going to sell it, or I get a good deal at this now because it's not going to happen. But people are remember, you're more of a risk taker, but calculated. All right. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki. This is Management 218, Chapter 12, Systematic Risk and Equity Risk Premium. I hope you enjoyed this, and let's see how long I did this. I was trying to keep it on my clock. Okay, 21 minutes. This is perfect. Remember, the chapters going forward as we're going now until we get into the international one, when you put the call and the put, right now are fairly complicated. They're just an extension of other chapters we had, and it's adding more different aspects to it for you to understand. And this is just another aspect of it. So finance is the whole book. You understand the basics, and as long as you understand the basics, you see the trends. You're basically looking at trends. We're in finance. I'm looking at trends to see, hey, is the same conditions occurring again, and when do I think this trend is going to happen? All right. Again, so thank you for taking this class, and I'll see you in a little while for Chapter 13. Bye. And make sure you sign up at a community college, corporate finance, and or a four-year university. It costs a little bit more. By community colleges, you'll get the basic understanding that you need, that you could at least have a credible conversation with someone because you understand it. And the more you get into it, the more you see. After a while, you're going to see it's not that hard at all. It's very simple.